Question 94. Did Jesus know that he would die when he entered Jerusalem?
Yes. 3 times Jesus had predicted his suffering and death before consciously and voluntarily, Luke 9:51, going to the place of his passion and his resurrection.
Question 95. Why did Jesus choose the date of the Jewish feast of Passover for his death and resurrection?
Jesus chose the Passover feast of his people Israel as a symbol for what was to happen through his death and resurrection. As the people Israel were freed from slavery to Egypt, so Christ frees us from the slavery of sin and the power of death. The Passover feast was when Israel celebrated their liberation from slavery in Egypt. Jesus went to Jerusalem in order to free us in an even deeper way. He celebrated Passover with his disciples. During this feast, he made himself the sacrificial lamb. The first letter of St. Paul sent to the Corinthians says, "For Christ, our paschal lamb, has been sacrificed." 1 Corinthians 5:7. So as to establish, once and for all, the definitive reconciliation between God and mankind. Now, what does Jesus have to do with Egypt, a lamb, and Passover? Well, the answer is a lot. During the time of Moses, the Egyptian king, which was also the Pharaoh, was really stubborn and would not let the Israelites free. God told Moses and his brother Aaron that they were to inform the Israelites to sacrifice an unblemished, perfect lamb. Which was to be the paschal lamb, and put its blood upon each of their homes' 2 doorposts and lintel. They also were to consume together the Passover meal, which was to become the first Passover. That evening, when the angel of death came through Egypt, upon noticing the bloodied door of the unblemished lamb, the angel of death passed over, skipped those places. But upon passing any door that wasn't bloodied, the firstborn of that house died. Along the way, the angel of death found the Pharaoh's household, and his firstborn son died. Heartbroken, the stubborn Pharaoh finally gave in to let the Israelites free. This came as a shock to the Israelites, that the opportunity finally arose for them to leave Egypt. When their bread remained unleavened and had yet to rise, they had to leave promptly out of Egypt. Celebrating this experience after more than hundreds of years as slaves in Egypt. They finally were processing and celebrating their new freedom along their trek towards the Promised Land. Again, this was the first Passover. Now, let's compare this with Jesus and see that he is called the Lamb of God, which he truly is. At the arrival of Jesus, who is also God himself, John the Baptist proclaimed, "Behold, the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world." Jesus himself is the Lamb, the unblemished Lamb, who is perfect, without sin, defect, or blemish, as he is God himself in the flesh. The Israelites, and later the Jews, celebrated the Passover meal with the Paschal lamb that had been killed, along with various items on the table. While celebrating the Passover meal now, they don't see it as a historical event or just something that happened in the past. They actually experience the Passover meal as if they were back in the time of the first Passover in Egypt. Jesus invited his 12 apostles to the Passover meal. Jesus established the new covenant, the new Passover, with them during his Last Supper. Notice that Jesus' role was twofold. He was the high priest as well as the victim, since he was the lamb too. Remember that the first Passover meal required the paschal lamb. Jesus informed and taught that the new covenant was to be made through the sacrifice of his body as the paschal lamb for the forgiveness of sins. Then at his crucifixion, he bled and died as an offering to the Father. Then he rose, celebrating his victory over sin, death, and the evil one, thus securing freedom in union with him. Whenever we participate in the Eucharist, the Mass, we are participating in the new Passover meal. We see the transubstantiation of the bread and wine into the unblemished Lamb, Jesus' body and blood. When we receive the Eucharist, we experience profoundly his death and resurrection. The cool thing is that when Jesus rose, he passed over from earth to heaven to sit at the right hand of God the Father. Upon our experience in the Mass, the new Passover, it gives us a foretaste, a longing towards the final Passover. Where we, the Church, can experience the glory of the kingdom in heaven.
Hello, my name is Father Christopher Klussman. I'm from the Archdiocese of Milwaukee in Wisconsin. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you next week.